Beverly Chandran. Welcome to Better with Age. This is the show where time doesn't age us, it simply refines us. How about that? Let's get started with the topic of the day. Recently, for about 2 years now, you probably have noticed that a lot of celebrities are sharing their life stories with us by way of biopics or memoirs, whether it be on Broadway, in movies, or writing books about themselves. And it's bringing a lot of good entertainment for people in my age group, actually, because we kind of grew up with these folks and now we get to learn more about their stories. For instance, we have Elton John. He just won two main awards, one Best Picture and one for comedy musical with regard to the Rocket Man memoir about his life, which was fantastic. And then I recently heard that Diane Keaton has announced her new memoir, which is going to be about her brother and her brother and sister type information. And within the last 2 years, I have been to New York to see two really good shows. One, Donna Summer's musical, fantastic show, and the other one was Motown, Barry Gordon and his story. Over 50 songs were played in that musical, as well as he integrated aspects of the civil rights movement. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm well.
What about you? Have you been to any shows? What have you liked about any celebrity that have shared their life with regard to in a book or on stage or a memoir?
Something that stands out for me, a few years back, my wife and I, we had season tickets to the Walnut Street Theater, and when they did the Buddy Holly story. Like that was so moving. It really felt like, I think they just did a fantastic job with it.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That stands out, and I seeing that Tommy Davis is going to be doing it in Living Color. I was a big fan of the show, watching Jim Carrey back in the day, and that was, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
What about you, Nancy?
I would have to call out my favorite book, Charles Barkley. I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
Yes.
He wrote two books, but the first
Okay.
book is just my go-to. I think I've given this book to everyone I know,
Yeah, that's true.
and it's just so well written. Who wrote it?
Charles Barkley, yeah.
He wrote it himself.
Charles Barkley and Michael Wilbon.
That's right, Michael Wilbon.
Okay, you're really good with
But it
names
was-
and remembering. Okay, I wouldn't have.
That's what comes with age.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we do have several other people that are coming out with their life stories. One is Michelle Obama. She wrote a book recently called Becoming, and boy, was it a page turner. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out on stage. Cher, boy, she doesn't age, does she? She's coming out with her story, and I can't wait. The music, the hair, the clothes,
Yeah,
the
the clothes.
music. It's going to be really good. And Bobby Brown has decided, you know what? I'm sick of hearing other people tell my story. I'll tell my own story. Thank you very much. And so he's coming out with his own story. So with all that said, I think the baby boomers are going to have a good time these next couple of years going to plays and theater and movies and just checking out some of this information. So I have a question for you. And audience, I want you to participate. If you were rich and famous and you did your own biography or memoir, who would be the leading actor or actress? Think about that. Steve, who would be your leading person?
I often thought about this, and I'd have to go.
Oh, you have thought about it?
Yes, I have. Yes,
Often?
yes.
Okay, well, that's pretty interesting.
My wife and I and my brother, we
A
would
lot of
often,
long card trips.
we would often play
Oh,
this
Lord,
game.
all right, that makes sense. Okay, I'm feeling, okay.
I think I'd have to go with Woody Harrelson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's he can play a lot of different roles, and he's funny, he's talented.
Okay, Nancy, what about you?
I'm going to say Mila Kunis.
Okay,
We clearly
okay.
look identical.
Yeah.
We're both Russian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've drawn a
I
couple
didn't pick up that you were
parallels.
Russian, but thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Not Russian from Russia, but
Okay.
a few generations out.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I really enjoy her as an actress, and I know she's a tad younger than me, but I think she could make the stretch.
Okay, all right. And I have thought about it preparing for the show, and I had so many people on my bucket list. It was ridiculous. Had to boil it down, and I ended up with Queen Latifah.
Okay.
Queen Latifah is the bomb. She could shed light on the good, the bad, and the ugly, and make it funny.
Indeed.
And also, she's a really good singer.
Indeed.
Singer.
Amen.
So you at home, you know what you should do? This is a great conversation piece for Facebook. Rather than putting all that negative information on Facebook, share that with your friends and family, and I bet you'll have a good time talking about why you picked who you picked to be your leading actor or actress. So what we're going to do, we're going to go away and have a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to discuss with our first guest about their book and author and their activity, and maybe that person can share with you some information to help you get going if you want to actually move forward with your own story. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Better with Age. This show is about time doesn't age us, it refines us. I hope you had a good opportunity to think about your personal story and who would be an actor or actress representing you. And we're going to move forward in interviewing our guest here, Ann Adele White, who has written several books. One lately in 2019.
December 2018.
2018, called An Internet of Containment. But before we get into your book and interviewing you, Nancy, how about if you share information with the audience more about
Okay.
our
Ann
guest?
Adele White's most recent book, An Internet of Containment, was published by BlazeVox at the end of 2018. Her previous books, all from BlazeVox, include The Age of Greenhouses from 2016, Opera House Arterial,
Yes.
correct? From 2013, and Sidestep Catapult from 2011. Her work has been published internationally in print and online and includes appearances in Apiary, Philadelphia Poets, American Writing, Luna Luna, Bedfellows, Ozburp, Have Your Chill, and Read On O2.
Those two books are in my shopping cart at Amazon because I said someone that's getting these type of reviews must be a good darn writer and author.
Well, I can only say I do my best.
Well, it seems like you're doing a great job. So tell us, how did you get started?
How did I get started? Let's see. I thought when I was 11 that I was writing novels. I was just pouring forth awful non sequiturs. And so I started writing poetry in my teens, and I would say I really found my voice when I was 16 because that was when I allowed myself to be weird. I get nowhere with poetry unless I let it be weird because I am a surrealist.
Okay, fantastic. Steve, do you have a question for her?
I think I would say, who or what were some of your influences?
Looking back to the earliest one, my parents had a record of Dylan Thomas reading some of his poetry. And I used to listen to that when I was 5 years old, and I had no idea who Dylan Thomas was or what he was telling us, but he was a spellbinding reader. And I would just sit there and listen with my little ears up. And I think that was where I first realized that poetry is magic, and poets make magic with their words.
You certainly do. By these reviews, you certainly do. Now, this book, your latest book, is called An Internet of Containment. So, looking at the title of the book, Internet, wide world, Internet, wide open, and then in the same title, containment, closed in. And I said, what is this lady trying to do? How can you be both wide open and closed in? So tell us about the title of the book before you read some of the excerpts from the book.
I love paradoxes.
Yeah, obviously. Okay.
Oh, well, it is a science fiction story told in surrealist poetry, and when I first realized that was what I was doing, I thought, no, this cannot be. And it said, you are going to write me. So I said, all right, I'll try. And so I did it. And the story hinges on the departure of almost all, not quite all, of humanity from an Earth that's become uninhabitable.
Sounds like where we are now, but go
Doesn't
ahead.
it, though?
Go right ahead.
So it takes place over evolutionary time. So we end up with different subspecies of post-human, and there's this one particular subgroup that is trying to dematerialize and to upload itself to a universal consciousness. And in doing so, they equip themselves with a web browser. And that's the objective is that's how they're going to communicate when they're all uploaded to this consciousness. And the last third of the book deals with the one renegade who decides at the last minute that isn't what she wants, and so she rematerializes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And the containment, I did not understand why this had a containment theme while I was writing it until the very last section. And
So you named the book before?
oh no, I didn't name it until after it was written,
Okay,
but the
got
theme
you.
of containers kept running
Popping
through
up,
it,
kept
and
popping
it only became clear in the very last section of the book when, of all things, my character, not content with rematerializing, ends up landing on a planet that's covered with pottery and hybridizing with it. And that was the most difficult part of the book to write.
Wow. Even my imagination was there for a moment, but then it just left me. Like, I don't, I would have to read the book to
Yes,
even
you're gonna have to read the book.
understand that. Okay. Where you're going with that. Steve, you look like you got a question that you're burning to ask.
What would you say your primary audiences are that you try to connect with?
Oh, primarily other poets.
Oh, okay.
Because,
Wow, okay.
because poets read each other's poetry. And if,
And understand it
maybe.
easily or fluently or.
Well, I think the first step to understanding a poem is to love it. And especially if you write the type of poetry I write, probably everyone who reads it or hears it is going to take away something different from it.
Sure, I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I consider it maybe not so much a victory as occasion for optimism when someone who isn't a poet expresses interest in poetry.
Wow. Well, I'm one because now, just because of the names and the reviews, I think I am definitely going to read some of your work.
Well, perhaps then this will make the world a better place.
Ah, well,
I hope so. I can
we'll
only
see.
hope.
We'll see.
We always try to do that with whatever we do, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Well, you're going to share with us a couple of readings?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to read from the first section of An Internet of Containment. One is the opening poem of the first section, and the other will be the one in which there is the mass migration from Earth. Innocence like a sewing machine. Humans are turning to metal without knowing it. The Tower of Babel throws its shadow to one side. We conceive decision as a form of titanium, flat out iridescent. Our planted seeds come up lanterns, 1 meter stick measuring all the world's water. An army of shadows need only inspired doubt. Cannon takes on innocence like a sewing machine. Our pathway through the sun comes and goes. On its far side, a judgment of blue cranes when the sea looks magic like an angled sail, or a rock painting of the future, primary colors topped with one blind eye, a vision of sunrise without language. And back it goes. And here's the poem in which almost everybody leaves Earth, and those who stay behind end up wishing they hadn't.
Sounds like real life.
Oh,
Go ahead.
You can see the equator. We take off like a goat's leap, outward spiral threading around Earth. our blended directions humming a high spin of wire. Not a myth, but golden. You can see the equator. Death rides next to us with a scent of explosive. Geometric forces bridge the air. As Earth's right brain surfaces from the Pacific, an icebox in open water, an absence of cold, our foredeck patterned on deconstruction. From here, the aurora has changed color, purple bronze like a pheasant crossing a lawn. Losing our ambitions, leaving only the pointed stars we use to map them, winning a flight at near light speed through an optical flicker of sunsets. Thank
Wow,
you.
that was beautiful.
And Adele White, the goddess of poetry. Question: have you ever gotten writer's block? Because I'm trying to be an author, but I get writer's block, and I have so much going on, and I just can't get myself together to get back to writing. Does that happen to you?
Oh, it certainly does, yes. Sometimes the best I can do is either take out a notebook or sit down at a screen and just simply free write. And whatever
That's a tip.
comes,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or else just, and another dastardly trick of mine is to pull out an old poem that either went nowhere or I wouldn't admit to now. Find the one or two good lines and try to build on those.
Okay, all right. I'll try both of those things. What about technology? How has technology helped you in your writing, or hindered you, or became a obstruction in your writing?
Let's see. I've found that I compose with what feels like two different parts of my mind when I'm writing by hand with my scroll, and when I'm typing and looking at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it actually is the same part of my brain, but the approach is different because the visual comprehension is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found it infinitely helpful to be able to use a computer as opposed to a typewriter because you can change things.
Yeah, faster.
Yeah,
Right. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And but I also find that I like to print things out sometimes, scribble all over them, then type up what I've got and
Okay, I
build
do
in
that.
layers.
I may be on my way to being a good author. I do that.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay. What about? I think we want to have you back. I think your work is commendable.
Well, I would be delighted.
Yeah. Do you have any advice that you want to give our audience about writing their books or moving towards that?
I would say believe that you can do it, and depending on what kind of book it is, seek out other writers of your kind, by which I mean go to readings and go to workshops.
Okay.
And any type of writing workshop all across the board, the atmosphere has got to be supportive, it's got to be kind. People are going to make suggestions, they're going to want you to change things, but let them make those suggestions in a positive way. I've heard sad stories of people never writing again because somebody was mean in a workshop. That should never happen.
Right.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Yeah.
Thank
that
you
was
so much for having
interesting.
me.
Very
And
interesting.
stay tuned for more Better with Age after these messages. And we're back. Since we've been talking about our memoirs, biopics, and future selves, part of the future is getting older and needing certain medical benefits. Joining us now is Annette Burgess, an independent insurance broker who is going to break down what we need to know about Medicare. Annette is a licensed insurance agent committed to assisting Medicare recipients and those that are aging in and navigate through the ever-changing landscape of this federal health insurance program. She has over 5 years experience in decluttering Medicare components so families can make the best decisions regarding their health care. Annette is readily serving residents of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So I think what I'd like to ask first is, what exactly is an insurance broker?
Well, first, I want to say thank you very much for
You're
having
welcome.
me on your show. I'm so
It's our
excited
pleasure.
to be here. So, diving in the deep end, an insurance broker is someone who is not beholden to an insurance company. So, they don't work for one particular plan, they are licensed for all the plans in the particular area. Okay? So, unlike a broker, an an insurance agent is specifically working for one particular insurance plan. Okay, sometimes they're called captive agents. Those they work for one particular plan, or independent agents. Another terminology for insurance broker is independent insurance agent. Okay, so basically, bottom line for independent insurance agent or insurance broker, we work for our client. We don't work for health plans.
Then you have to know a lot of information with regard,
Yes.
because you know everything that's out in the marketplace.
Correct.
So that you can provide that information to your client.
Yes.
How is that business driven? Is it by technology? How do you keep abreast of all? It's very detailed
It's
information.
very detailed, and pretty much agents only have 6 months of downtime because every year we have to recertify.
The broker.
Yes, yes. So
Wow.
we have to recertify, not just with CMS, which is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services that
Right.
drives Medicare. We have to certify with each and every plan
Right.
that we want to be licensed to sell.
Explain to the audience what is Medicare,
Oh,
because everyone
Okay.
doesn't know.
correct. So Medicare is a federal program, okay? It is for those who are 65 and over. However, there are some people that are under 65, but they have different
Disability.
disabilities,
Oh, I see.
and they are on Medicare.
So is it like a program that's subsidized by the government? Is it a free program? Is it free?
So, how Medicare works is you work a certain amount of years and you pay into that system.
Right.
So, when you turn 65 or 67, or whenever you decide that you want to retire and activate it, you get your Part A and your Part B. You enroll in your Part A and your Part B.
And is it free?
Part A is free if you work free. If you work at least
val-
10 years.
Okay.
Okay. If you
Prior
do not,
to
prior
getting on
to,
it.
yes.
10 years prior.
If you don't, you have a monthly premium. Part B is free if you worked a certain amount of years as well. If you did not, then you have a monthly premium if you want to get that activated.
So if people don't work
Mm-hmm.
and they can't afford a premium, then what? Is that why we have so many people uninsured?
Uninsured.
Yeah.
So it is a that's a very good question, but it's also one that's kind of loaded. So if someone has not worked, we are going to think that that person pretty much, right, is lower income. There are some plans out there, some assistance programs that they can sign up for that would help them pay for Parts A and Parts B.
Wow.
Because if someone does not have a Part A and B, they have to have Part A and Part B, they cannot sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, or they cannot sign. So they would need, if they wanted to sign up for that Medicare Advantage plan, they would need to have those two activated.
And the Advantage plan is what? It covers
Advantage plan is
more-
Part C.
Part C. It
Yep,
covers
and
more.
it covers a little bit more. So Medicare Advantage plans are Part C, and they have to cover everything that CMS covers under original Medicare.
Right.
So they do that, but also there are plans that give a little bit more, right?
Okay.
And as a broker, I know those plans that give a little bit more. So when I sit with someone, They talk to me about, oh, so I need dental or I need this. This is the amount of money that I, can spend for a Medicare Advantage plan. I do my due diligence to find them that plan. So that's going to give them those extra benefits. That's going to give them more bang for their buck. Okay, because a lot of seniors, and even some that aren't seniors but are on Medicare, are on fixed incomes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is almost like asking you to explain the galaxy to us.
Oh.
This is such a complicated.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but it doesn't have to be, and that is why it is so important to have a champion. Someone that's by your side, that is that expert and
Right.
that can say, hey, listen, don't look at this. I know that this is a 0 monthly premium. Those are just bells and whistles because it has a $150 deductible or it has a $425 Part D deductible or anything like that. So you want someone that can understand, that understands the ins and outs of Medicare.
And if I'm not mistaken, every year you have to sign up again or change your plan or
So,
look at all these pieces,
yes.
which drives everyone insane.
It drives everyone insane, but I think that it's only because there's a lot of misinformation out there from commercials with famous sports people on there,
Sure,
and
right.
and there it's like a 24-hour like cycle that
Right.
kind of invokes fear almost.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be that way. AEP, the annual enrollment period, which begins October 15th and runs through December 7th, is your time. So it is anyone that is on Medicare, it is your time to say, not do I fit in with this plan, but does this plan fit in with my life? How has my life changed? What does my income look like? Am I still as active as I was at the beginning of the year? Do I need some other things? Does my doctor still accept this? So there are just so many different components that you got that like 7-8 weeks to just take a step back and say, you know what? No, I'm good. And if you're good, then you don't have to do anything.
Right.
Is
You
everyone
know?
eligible for Part C?
Only those that have original Medicare, that have activated Parts A and Parts B.
Okay.
Yes. And you're eligible for the Medicare Advantage. But, let's also talk about Medicare supplement plans. Medicare supplement plans might be the way for you to go,
Right.
So that is
Which
where
is another basket.
that's
of-
another basket, and it's easier for someone to do that, like myself, to do that heavy lifting, to say we're just going to look at this, not looking at that. We're just
Right,
going to look at
because
this
I think
and
it's
that.
overwhelming,
Mhm.
particularly for senior citizens, to
Yes.
read all that information
Yeah.
and look at their life to determine what
Yeah.
should be happening.
Well, because Medicare is different now. The landscape for Medicare is completely different than what it was 15 years ago.
Right. Right.
If there's any last little bit of advice you could give someone, what would that be?
That there are a lot of scams going out right now. Be your due diligence. When you answer the phone and if someone says, hi, may I speak with, or are you don't say your name. You always say, who is calling?
Who is
Because they're recording voices and then they're churning it, and you might find that you're enrolled in a different plan. And also, yes, don't believe everything that you see on TV.
Okay.
So well done. Thank you, Annette, for coming, and to all our guests today, and to all of you for watching. Be sure to visit our website for more information about our guests and the show, and catch us next time on Better with Age.